Hello, and welcome to Upfront. My name is Dean Thullner Veljasic, and we are filming on the unceded Nanaimo traditional territory. I have the pleasure of sitting down today with Darlene Jones, who's the Executive Director of Haven Society. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming out today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I wanted to read to the audience your mission statement. Haven Society's mission is to promote the integrity and safety of women, children, youth, and families, and the development of a respectful and healthy community. As a leading anti-violence organization operating from feminist principles, Haven Society will achieve this mission by providing a range of services, public education, and advocacy. That's quite the mission statement. And it's very sensitive work. This is important work in our community, and the reason why I brought you on today is I wanted to ensure that if there was someone out there, a female, that was in a situation where they felt unsafe or they were subject to violence, that they might get some insight on how they could get some resources through your society.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So can you share with me some of Haven Society's beliefs?
Yeah, so we believe that no one deserves to be abused and that violence has no place in relationships or society. We believe that relationship and societal violence is something that comes from an imbalance and misuse of power and control, and that it can happen in many forms. So physical, emotional, psychological, financial, sexual. It has a lifelong impact and an intergenerational impact. And it can happen to people from all backgrounds and of all ages.
You know, I just thought of something. So it is a society that helps women in dangerous situations. Now, we're in a new climate with the LGBTQ. Or is this a non-barrier clinic that is open to all women who are in crisis?
It is open to all women. If you identify as a woman, you are welcome.
That's great to hear. What is Haven Society's purpose? What is Haven Society providing for, I think it's Nanaimo and Oceanside? Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we support women, children, youth, and families who experience physical, sexual, emotional, and/or psychological violence in their lives. And we do this through providing and maintaining shelter, as well as through our programs and services.
Now, that's not an easy intake because every single person that's coming to you is coming to you in a unique situation. So maybe a little insight on what that intake might look like.
Sure. So in our transition house, you would call the crisis line, and you would speak with a women's support worker, and they would ask you some questions about what you're experiencing, what risks there are in your life, and talk you through a little bit about what our transition house is. And then they would give you the instructions of how to access that if you're ready. And sometimes it's just a conversation that someone's not ready to leave, but they just want to kind of talk things through. So that's one way for intake. And then in our other programs, it would be through our main line.
And your crisis line is 24/7?
It is,
And
yes.
Haven Society is open for what hours?
So the main community services building is Monday to Friday, 9 to 4:30, and then our transition house is 24/7, 365.
So is the general work week also have open door policy, non-barrier for people to access that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, on street level. Yeah, I've been. The house is lovely, actually.
Thank you.
But it is open to the public.
It is, yes.
Mm-hmm. For female or someone who identifies
Some
as
of our
female.
programs are for all genders, such as our community-based victim services, as well as our peace program. Others are specific to women.
Mm-hmm, of course, yeah. Okay, so Haven Society's vision is to work together with our community to end violence against women and to create and support a safe space for us all. This includes programs and services that will help those in immediate need find shelter and support through transitions in their lives. So I've been on your website, I've unpacked it a little bit, and I've got some questions. My first question is, what is the Haven Transition House?
Yeah, so a transition house provides temporary shelter and support for women and their children, if they have children, who have experienced violence and abuse, and they're seeking safety. So it's kind of a short-term, maybe up to a month stay, where they can go and explore their options in a safe way when they have nowhere else to go or when they need to leave a violent situation. It's staffed 24/7 by our women's support workers, and they're there not only to provide everyday needs like food and any like clothing that they might need, but also to listen, to help connect them to other supports and services, and just help them navigate this transitional time in their lives.
Well, sure, it's a colossal undertaking. You're not only having to provide basic needs like food and shelter, but there's also mental health support, there's anti-violence support. So it's got to be a little bit complicated. Quite an incredible team you're working with. And if I were to want to go to be in this transition house, what is the steps? Like, how does that look like for me? If I walk in or I pick up the phone, how does that happen for me?
So you'd pick up the phone and call our crisis line.
Yes, which is below us at the moment.
Thank you. Yeah, and a women's support worker will be there to assist you and talk you through it. And each situation is unique. We try to be very women-centered. We really support what that individual woman feels she needs. Sometimes women aren't ready to leave a situation. Sometimes they return and come back. So each situation is different, and we really just base that support on that. So it is to call first and go through the intake process over the phone.
Well, I can imagine that not every woman or individual that phones the first time is actually ready to make that step. I mean, they're in a committed relationship, they could have children, they could have a sustainable life they've built, they've got a preconceived future they were or sort of dreamt of. This is a really hard decision to leave your family on the backside of protecting yourself and your children. So again, you would phone the crisis line, or you could drop in, and perhaps that would get the ball rolling.
Yeah, so we could do a safety plan with you, discuss your options. So that could be through the crisis line, or it could be through our other services and supports, depending on where you are in your journey and where you are as far as your readiness to leave. So sometimes it can take a long time before you're ready, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I recently heard a statistic that out of the 100% population of homeless in Vancouver Island, you know, a lot of people think that a lot of homeless people have addiction issues, but in fact, there is a tremendous amount of people that are just more homeless. And a lot of these homeless situations are because people have had to make decisions to leave violence, whether it was in the LGBT community, protecting themselves, or whether it's situations like this where women and children, their lives are at risk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do see that as well. Especially because it's just so hard to get into affordable housing. And currently most of our supports are like more short-term as far as like the transition house. And so unfortunately it does end up that sometimes people choose to live in their car as opposed to live in a violent situation. But it's something we're working on, and we're developing some more second stage housing to help address some
We're
of
going to
that.
get to that. We're going to get to that, okay?
Great.
All right, so what does the 30-day stay mean?
So that's what the typical kind of length of stay is, but in today's world with how hard it is to find rental housing, that's not always realistic. So we tend to say it's 30 days to start, but then we take it on an individual case-by-case basis, and it can get extended. But we're also, our women's support workers are trying to support the women in the house to find housing, whether that's through referring them to our outreach services, or just helping them, look for rental housing or other living situations, maybe with friends and family, that could work for them.
So a lot of needs. You're a nonprofit society. Do you partner with local organizations in regards to food and some of the supplies that you need?
We do. So we do get a lot of donations of food, as well as gift cards, so women can go out and purchase the things they need, some housing items, personal toiletries, things like that. So we do get a lot of great donations, either from individuals or groups that do like food drives or third-party fundraisers. So we do rely on the community a lot. Our funding doesn't cover everything. There's always a greater need. And so we're really fortunate to have such a giving community.
And you must have people that have used your resources that in turn give back.
Yeah, we do, and it's always lovely to see that.
Of course. Okay, so on your website it says the Haven Society provides wraparound support. Can you tell the audience what that means?
Sure. So these are the services that are designed to support individuals who've experienced abuse and violence beyond the need for temporary shelter. And so we have a wide range of programs and services, and all of them are free, and individuals don't need to be referred. They can self-refer just by calling in.
Okay. So let's talk about some of these programs that are available for this community. The drop-in program.
So our drop-in program is Tuesdays to Thursdays from 1 to 3, and somebody can either call or come in person to our main office in Nanaimo. And it's a free and confidential informal meeting. It's quite short. It's maybe half an hour, but it's just to kind of get your foot in the door and kind of explore what their options are for you, like what services you might want to explore with us or in the community. And yeah, just talk about kind of like where to go next. If you're not sure, that's a good place to start.
Right. I'm sure that some of the women that are wanting to take these steps also are in fear of the ramifications of making that exit. So do you partner with the RCMP or the local police?
Yeah, so we do have a domestic violence unit that we partner with the RCMP, the Ministry of Children and Families Development, as well as other community service providers. And they are there to support really like the highest risk individuals in the community. And through this collaborative table, they also can put interventions in place really quickly by working together to figure out what is most needed for those individuals.
And some of these situations volatile, excuse me for my ignorance, but I'm assuming that some of these situations, the people that are coming to you have mental health issues, some of them might have addiction issues. How does Haven Society navigate that moving forward?
Yeah, so we try to be low barrier. We have training for our staff to be trauma informed, but also to understand how to support people with complex needs. That doesn't mean we're no barrier, so someone has to be able to, for the transition house, like exist within a communal living environment where there are children, but we can create some plans of like how to, manage mental health and addictions through supports or where you use and things like that. So it is something that comes up more and more.
I'm sure, yes. Okay, so outreach program?
So our outreach program is really based on harm reduction and meeting the immediate needs of an individual and promoting healthy choices. So this program is very broad, and it's kind of hard to explain all of the things it does, but some of the things it does is it provides emotional support, it connects people to community resources. So you might go through our drop-in program and then go into outreach to get additional support that's, over multiple sessions. So it can help with if you have a need for food or supplies, because we do have like a donation room. It can help connect you to support groups. It runs its own support group, or connecting you to other community service providers, but it also has housing support. So we have a limited number of housing subsidies that we allocate to certain individuals who've applied, as well as we have some second stage apartments for single women already in the community. And yeah, so it's just kind of to provide those supports of what they need and help them navigate the system.
Well, and this can be twofold, because you're not only helping the mother that's left this dangerous situation, but you also have children. So you must provide services to support the children while the mother is going through this transition.
Yes, so I mean, sometimes it's just single women and sometimes it's women with children, but we do have programs specific for families. So within our transition house, we have a family support worker and a child care worker to help. So when mom needs the kind of one-to-one support, there's someone that can help care for the kids, or a family support worker that can really help navigate that family needs in the community. But we also have the PEACE program for children and youth who have experience.
What is the PEACE program?
So it stands for Prevention, Education, Advocacy, Counseling, and Empowerment. And it's really a program that kind of teaches children between the ages of 3 and 18 about abuse and violence, what it is, like how to define it, that it's not their fault if they've experienced it, that they're not alone and others have had similar experiences. It teaches like what healthy relationships look like, and does some safety planning, supports the parent who's experienced abuse in how they can best support their child, through this time after they've had that experience. It's considered a psychoeducational program because it's a lot about teaching, but through it we have individual, like one-on-one counseling for the kids, or group counseling if they're similar ages of kids. And we also go into schools and teach some of these skills and the knowledge to both the kids and the educators, and that's called Violence is Preventable, and it's really about kind of breaking that cycle of abuse.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We always hear about breaking the cycle of abuse with families. Yes.
Yeah.
Seems to run through generations. What is victim services?
So in our community, there's police-based victim services and community-based victim services. So we do the community-based. So not everyone who's experienced violence or abuse, whether it's physical or sexual or emotional, they don't always report it or feel comfortable reporting it to the RCMP, but they still need a safe place to go and talk and learn about what their options are. So this is justice-related supports. It could be learning about, what reporting would look like if they want to do that, or what other options they might have. It could be accompanying them to court, and sometimes if they are going through the legal system, it can take years. So just for having that support, letting them know what it's going to be like to go to court, or to attend with them to appointments with Crown Counsel or the RCMP. So they just have that emotional support and the knowledge of what's going to happen and what it's going to look like, so they can be more prepared as they navigate that. Also, some of that safety planning if they're, experiencing violence but not ready to leave yet. And so kind of talking about what are the risks and what could you do and what services are available and what might leaving look like.
So safety planning, if I decide that I'm going to leave my husband, I'm going to take my kids, and I need to seek refuge, how secure is that from the person that's the persecutor? So where they're allocated to is private, I understand, right? So this is somewhere that the spouse that's being abusive would not be able to find them, I'm assuming?
I mean, that's the hope, yes. Yeah, so that's what we try to do. I mean, and in certain high risk cases, it might be trying to connect them with a transition house in another neighboring community to just get them one step further away. But yeah, we try to have all of the safety in place so that they are in a safe place.
And are you also working with Island Health? If someone comes in that has health issues as a result of this violence?
Yeah, we do. It just depends case by case, but it would definitely, sometimes we connect them with Island Health, or they're already connected with Island Health, and we try to support them through that.
Interesting. Okay, any other programs you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I think we could talk about our Stopping the Violence counseling program. So that's counseling for adult women. And it could be that they've experienced intimate partner violence, but it also could be past violence from their childhood or sexual assault. So we know that a woman's experience of abuse can be very complex, and it can take a while before they're ready to kind of process it. And that trauma is very complex as well. So this program offers both individual and group counseling and support groups to also just understand abuse and relationships and teach some skills and awareness of coping methods and how it affects their body, how it affects their lives, and just kind of learning about that.
Yeah, excellent. Well, listen, I understand that there's a second stage building that's going to be coming up to be able to expand your resources and provide more programs and more safety. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so we're very excited. So our existing transition house is quite old. It was built in the 60s, and so it's actually moving to a new building, and with that new building, there's going to be 30 apartments of second stage housing. So women can stay for up to 2 years, and so there'll be 18 one-bedroom apartments for single women, but also 6 two-bedroom and 6 three-bedrooms for families. And I think it'll really help to fill some of that gap of affordable housing that women and their families are experiencing when they're leaving, so that they'll have some place to be referred to. It's not going to solve every issue, but it's at least making a dent, and it's a big gap that we've identified for many years. So we're very excited that BC Housing has partnered with us and is building this for us.
The community's fortunate. Any estimated time of when this might happen?
It's hoped to be open by November, but by the end of the year is the plan.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so as a community, how can we support this society?
Yeah, so on our website, you can go to the page that's called 40 Ways to Promote Safety if you're looking at just how you can help to create a safer and violence-free world. We do believe that the community has both the right and the responsibility to become involved in creating a solution. You can also always donate, either through money or through items through our wish list. You could host an event. We have had lots of really great third-party fundraisers or food drives, things like that, that just make a huge difference for us.
I always tell the audience, no event is too big or too small,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
School bake sales,
yeah.
Having them in your home or creating something through your community, every cent counts.
It does. I mean, we've had kids who've come and donated their birthday money, which is just so amazing. So yeah, look, it doesn't have to be big. Every little bit helps and every bit counts. You can become a member of our society, where you can kind of keep up to date on what we're doing and help to shape future purposes through coming to our AGMs. And we also have a volunteer coordinator now. We didn't have one for a while, but we're excited to have one again. So volunteering is also really important.
Every nonprofit needs volunteers. But let's be clear, if you're going to volunteer for Haven Society, we're primarily looking for women to support women, yes?
That's true, yes. And because our clients, have such a vulnerability, it's not often volunteering with clients. Sometimes it is, but there's a lot of steps to go through that. But it could be volunteering with our donation room or volunteering at events. We have volunteers that help in our garden, which is lovely as well. So
your garden?
So we have we have a garden behind the transition house, and just kind of a nice tranquil place for women and their children to kind of go and be outside.
Nurture nature.
Yes. Exactly.
That's fantastic. I wanted to skip back to some of your wish list. So everyday essentials, what does that mean?
Yeah, so we definitely some of the food. We only accept new clothing because we have a very small donation room, but some of the household items for when women are ready to move out on their own is really helpful. We do accept personal care items, but only unscented items because we really want to be scent safe. So that's really important to us. So just those kind of basic items, if you're thinking of if they're restarting their lives, what would they need? Those are some of the items.
Gift cards.
Gift cards are really helpful because I think it also just lets the women and children to go and purchase what they need and make choices for themselves. So we really love gift cards, and they're very well needed.
What about supporting the kids? What can the audience be able to help to support the kids? Like gift cards for sure, but like clothing, toys, what's acceptable?
Toys for sure, especially closer to Christmas. So we do a holiday gift room where our clients can come in and kind of shop, but not with money, but just pick out items for their kids, but also for women. So we have gifts for all ages, but that's always really popular. And we also keep toys year round for when kids have a birthday, if they're in the transition house or in other programs. So that's always really needed and well received.
And if I were to donate money to Haven Society, I would get a tax receipt?
Yes, you would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can also decide how you want that money to be used. So if you wanted it specifically to kids programs, you could say that, or specifically to the Oceanside area, that's fine too. So we really try to respect what you want your funding to be used for.
Well, it's incredible work you're doing for our society, and it's really needed. And I think that I'm hoping that if you're watching this program today and you feel that you are in crisis or your children are in crisis because of abuse, and that you feel you need support, please reach out to Haven Society. Above all, Haven Transition House is committed to helping you and your children take the next step to create lives free of violence. Daylene, thank you so much for coming out today.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to ask you if you had a message for the individuals that are watching the program today. What would you like to share with us?
I think you've kind of said it, but really, like, if you are experiencing abusive violence, or you just aren't sure, but you think that something's not right and you want to talk it out, to just reach out, and we'll have someone there who can talk through this with you, explore your options, and support you.
Okay, well, again, you can go to havensociety.com, or you can phone them directly, which is on that website, or you can phone the crisis line, which is open 24/7. Right. Well, thank you so much for coming out today. I really appreciate it. It was a vast amount of information. Hopefully we've been able to help individuals out there that feel this might be an avenue that they feel comfortable to take. Thank you very much for watching up front. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.